YB stays on your neck.
Down there as well. Down there as well.
Yo my dons, make sure you hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and obviously hit the bell for notifications. So we just saw there from Anthony, a la Cash Cow, Joshua, once again with the hashtag cryptic messages. But this for me feels like a bit of, this sort of here, it's almost like a shout out to his followers and his fans, letting us know what time it is to an extent. Let's break down what he says. In defeat there is power, a chance to come back, to stare down your weaknesses. Don't stay down for the count. Become better. One can recover and go on. One can be victorious. I will. Now, I've been saying over the last few days that AJ can be cryptic. He doesn't actually come out and say what he wants to say. Now, in this particular message, it's a bit more to the point. However, I'd be intrigued to know where he's coming from. What's brought this on? Bearing in mind we are 3 weeks later now. It could be the case that he's seen the videos or he's seen the public reaction and the fact we're all saying, what's going on here? Like, why is he so happy and whatnot? This, for me, it does go quite a way to clearing some of that up, if I'm honest. He's putting it out there, letting everyone know what time it is. Now, with that said, let's now analyse the actual words he says. In defeat there is power, a chance to come back, to stare down your weaknesses. So what were AJ's weaknesses? And I've got to be honest, guys, I know I keep going on about it. From this fight, AJ's weakness was his trainer. I'm sorry, I really am. That's what it comes down to here, yeah? Forget everything else, let's just focus on one point. You know why B, he loves numbers. Let's focus on the easy parts. What was wrong from a trainer's point of view? Why is AJ still coming in at 247? That's what it comes down to for me. Numbers don't lie. Yeah, if Rob McCracken was doing a good job, why is AJ in the ring at 247 when they identified 2.5 years ago that 250 was too heavy? Fact. After the Klitschko fight, AJ said 250 is too heavy. I'm never doing that again. It's not rocket science. Really not difficult. AJ, I've got a video coming in the next few days or next weeks or so. AJ's got a nutritionist, a dietitian. He's got about 6 different dons and a head trainer in Rob McCracken, and he's still coming in too heavy. And being too heavy, it affects a number of things: speed, conditioning. You know what I mean? It's not one of the. It's not. I'm not asking for Rob McCracken to put a Floyd Mayweather boxing IQ in his brain. All I'm asking for is for him to come in under 240, 237, 230. Yeah, that's all we're asking for. Not rocket science. I could do that. Most people with any inkling on conditioning and whatnot could get AJ down to 238. I mean, I'm not being funny. They proved it. What was it? 15 months ago when he fought Joseph Parker. He came in 240. That was a step in the right direction. In my opinion, his ideal weight will be around 235 to 237. I wouldn't want to see him less than 235. 237 would be bang on for me. They were there, now they're back up again, which shows to me Rob McCracken, he's the essential football manager. He's the one who sits above everyone. When things don't go right, he gets the chop. And I've said before, people say, oh, you jumped on the bandwagon, YB. Oh, you weren't complaining before. I've only been around 4 months. You don't know what I was saying. After the Povetkin fight, I wasn't here. So judge me on what I've actually said. Now, this is the first fight he's had with McCracken, and I would have been saying before, what's going on here? Win or lose, the facts remain the same. You're coming in too heavy. You could be quicker. For me, I like to optimise. I like to see a win isn't enough for me. I want to see the best performance. And I've said this before. If Ruiz had beaten the best AJ, or even an average AJ, I would have been saying, listen, man, 100% fair play. He gets fair play anyway. He won the fight. I'm just saying, I'm not 100% confident that Rob McCracken can implement the things you talk about here. He says here, look, in defeat there's power. It's no good. In defeat there is power, you're correct. In defeat there is a chance to come back. In defeat there is a chance to stare down your weaknesses, but it's no good identifying weaknesses if the man who's in charge of fixing them is incapable. Yeah? Let's not forget, AJ says here, a chance to come back, to stare down your weaknesses. 2 years ago, when you nearly lost against Klitschko, you identified them weaknesses. Conditioning. You said, listen, before the Klitschko fight, I'd just come back from the Olympics, and I was out of shape. I'm not going to do that again. I came into camp way too heavy. I wasn't training in my off-season. I was just partying. I've learned I'm not going to do that now. 2.5 years later, his cardio is severely lacking. Now, bear in mind, I'm not even going to consider the concussion business for this video because, like people have reminded me, AJ said he was okay. So let's go with what he said. If you were okay, ultimately, your conditioning was shocking and you were still, concussion or not, you were still overweight, which the concussion had nothing to do with. Also, the concussion had not a lot to do with the fact you had absolutely no gas tank at all. Because you said you were fine. You said there was no issues. So why were you running out of gas after 2 rounds? And the other thing, on the trainer point of view, AJ was not listening to McCracken. Fact. Now that happens, what do we know in football? Yeah? When the football players can be playing crap all year round, change the manager, and all of a sudden they're playing properly again. It's the same principle. It's humans. Humans are the same. Football players or Joshua. If Joshua isn't listening to his trainer, there's something fundamentally wrong there. Is there not? It's not. It's really not difficult. McCracken said to him, "I don't want to see a low lead hand anymore." And Joshua went out the next round with a low lead hand. He doesn't respect McCracken. Ultimately, from where I'm sitting, maybe he does, and I'm overreading things. But why is he coming in too heavy for? These are the basics. Why has he got no basic conditioning? He's not that big. People say he's a bodybuilder. He's really not. For a 6'5" man, 250 isn't that big. Look at as an example. Ruiz has a whole load of fat on him. He's 270, and he wasn't blowing out of gas. He's heavier than AJ, and he's shorter. Short and fat is much more tiring than tall and lean. He's carrying a load of dead weight on him, and he wasn't gassed because he's conditioned, to his credit. Joshua is not, and it's got nothing to do with anything apart from his training. And that's what scares me about this whole thing of, to stare down your weakness is a chance to come back. In defeat there is power. Yes, you're correct. There is absolute power in defeat if you are able to address the issues. So the conditioning and the weight is the first issue. And I've said to people before, listen, we're going to have a pretty educated opinion on how this rematch is going to go from the weigh-in. If we see AJ coming in above 240, we've seen him. It's not as if I'm asking for something we haven't already seen. It's funny, when I criticise AJ's conditioning, people always point to the Joseph Parker fight. But what do we know about the Parker fight? He came in 239 or 240, I believe it was. 240 he came in. So that it's no good saying, oh look, he's got conditioning, it's not McCracken's fault. He was 240 for that fight, which actually goes to what I'm saying even more. Yeah, the fact that he came in at 247 shows McCracken's seen it can work at 240. You don't miss. Yeah? 248, 8 pounds, 9 pounds heavier is a 4% difference. 4%, you don't just miss that. That doesn't accidentally happen. And the same way he was able to identify that the Klitschko fight was wrong and bring it down, what's happened since then? A lack of discipline and a lack of management from McCracken. And I keep saying this, but I want to say it again. Either way, even if some of you will be saying, oh, YB, his conditioning was because he was concussed. If that's the case, why did McCracken put him in the ring, concussed? Either way, whatever way you want to cut this, McCracken is a severe hindrance. And I'm just sitting here hoping that a pure chance miracle can be pulled off. But as I was saying, we're going to know if he comes in above 240. I mean, if it's 242, that's not too bad. But really, if he comes in above 240, I mean, if you're coming in 247, 248, it's going to be a hit or miss here. It will show that they haven't really addressed the key issues. Because the weight, if you can't address the easiest issue AJ has is the weight. Easiest one. Very simple to fix. I could fix that in 8 weeks, no problem. He wouldn't even notice the difference. Yeah? 8 pounds isn't a lot for a big man like that. But that's what makes it even more worrying. 8 pounds isn't a lot, so why are you on the upper end of that? I'd rather have seen him come in 234 or something. Be underweight. Because at least then you know he's going to be able to go all day. Because it's no good having power and muscles if you can't supply them with oxygen. It's good to be powerful. Look at Ali versus Foreman. What happened to all them muscles, all that power he had? Burnt out and fell over, exhausted. Couldn't fight anymore. At what point are they going to get it? AJ identified it 2.5 years ago. At what point is it? You know what I mean? But anyway, that's just that part. What other issues do we know AJ has? So we've done the conditioning. People say he's got a bad chin. I think the chin issue is to do with conditioning, which makes it even more vital that he must get this right. Combination punching. I feel AJ's a confused fighter. Absolutely. I believe AJ's style will be a mix between, he'll be in the middle between Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson. And look at all of AJ's fights. This was the first fight ever I've seen AJ completely dedicated to moving backwards. He fought like Tyson Fury fights in that Ruiz fight. And I know why it is, because AJ said to Rob McCracken, I don't want to get stuck in anymore. I don't want to have hard fights. Train me to be a fiddler. Train me to be a great boxer. That's what AJ's told his coach. Which says to me, this is the problem. AJ shouldn't be telling, as an example, do you think Lennox Lewis came to Manuel Stewart and told him, train me like this? No, Manuel Stewart said, I know boxing. I know what fighter you are. I know your genetics. I'm going to tell you what fighter is best for you. AJ shouldn't be telling his trainer, oh, I want to be like this. I don't want to get stuck in. If you're built to be, it's like, do you think Mike Tyson came to Cus-D'Amato and said, Cus-D'Amato, I want you to train me how to be Ali? No, he didn't. He said, you know, Cus-D'Amato looked at Mike Tyson and said, you're going to be, your physical attributes will be an inside fighter, moving forward. And look at Tyson. Tyson literally could not fight on the back foot. Every time he lost was because he got backed up. Every time. Simple. But AJ's going to be a hybrid. So I'm sorry, AJ, you're never going to be a Tyson Fury. As much as you don't want to get stuck in, you're going to lose every fight if that's the case. You haven't got the world-class conditioning. You haven't got the fleet-footedness. You're just not designed to do that. You're designed to have a strong 1-2 and to be constantly pressing forward and holding your ground. Look at even the Parker fight. The Parker fight was his most boxy performance, and I watched that back the other day. He's constantly coming forward with the jab, stepping into it. You don't see him. Of course, AJ takes back steps. As an example, if Parker was going to jab him, or if Povetkin was going to jab him, he'd step back, but he'd always step back and look to step forward again. That Ruiz fight, he was backing up with no intent to come forward, just running backwards like Fury. That's not his style. And when something's not your style, that's how you run out of gas quicker as well. AJ is a come-forward fighter. And I'm disappointed that McCracken has listened. It's like, what's the word? It's not the blind leading the blind, but AJ doesn't tell you how to train him. You're the trainer. You say to him, he might say to you, oh, I don't want to get stuck in anymore. I don't want to have hard fights anymore. You have to tell him, listen, boss, unfortunately, the way your body is, you are going to be an insight. You are going to be a move-forward fighter to get stuck in. Look at I'm not being funny. AJ says he doesn't want to do a Klitschko fight again. That was one of his best performances. He chewed, as an example, Fury talks about how he boxed Klitschko's head off. In the last 10 years, since Klitschko lost last, no one's been able to beat Klitschko like that. That was the first time in God knows how many years someone actually knocked Klitschko out. And this was the new improved Klitschko, may I add. No one has actually defeated or has actually stopped and knocked out the new improved Klitschko, the jab, grab style. No one's been able to do that. Which to me, rather than AJ saying, oh, I don't want to do that anymore, you should be saying, you know what? I've just knocked out one of the all-time great fighters. I've beat him at his own game in that sense. I've been able to knock out the guy who was boring and who didn't get stuck in. You made him get stuck in. He didn't have a choice. He couldn't stop you. Too ferocious. So you should be buying into that, becoming more powerful. And I feel like his combinations have disappeared as well. It's all about big power now. All that, as an example, I remember the Charles Martin fight. I love to use it. He timed Charles Martin and caught him with a straight right hand. Yep, that was it. Charles Martin didn't know anything about it. Where was that sleekness? Where was that counter-punching ability versus Ruiz? He just kind of jumped in, even when he knocked Ruiz down. At the point he first knocked Ruiz down, that was just a gunslinging match. Pure chance, in my opinion. It wasn't set up. He was just in the scruff of it, toe-to-toe and banging, and it so happened caught him. There was no really setting up of it. And in my opinion, AJ was shocked that he put him down with that shot. Hence why he ran in. He was completely shocked. He didn't expect it. But my point is, where was that setting up? AJ's meant to be the counterpuncher, not Ruiz. If we're being serious now. Where has the setting up gone? Setting up combinations, setting up counters, disappeared. His counter punching game's not as good as it used to be. Now I'm hoping the concussion really did put stuff off, but then once again I can't be sure because he says he was fine, so I'm in two worlds all over the place in that sense. However, it remains the same. McCracken must lead AJ. AJ's not going to change him now, unfortunately, but McCracken can't be... I really pray... Well, we're going to know anyway. We'll know really soon. If AJ comes out and he's back-footing, in my opinion, he's going to lose. Unless he gets pure lucky. If he comes out and he's not doing what he normally does, i.e. holding his feet... A number of people have said it. All the top boxing names have said, I don't understand why AJ was going back. He needs to go back to being what he was. He's the hammer, not the damn nail. Ruiz, it's not as fair enough, you know. If AJ was fighting like a Mike Tyson... like the actual Mike Tyson, who had all this hype, who was a genetic specimen himself, had ferocious speed, ferocious power, rapid, I'd be like, you know what, I can't even understand why he was moving backwards. But then again, bearing in mind how great a lot of us think AJ is, as in all-time great status, even then he should have had the psychological balance to say no. I couldn't care less if he's the Mike Tyson. I'm gonna beat him at what? I'm gonna hold my feet and let him know what time it is with a good strategy. But the fact you've got Ruiz, who didn't even have any hype, he's not that dangerous. Now everyone's sucking him off about how good he is now after the event, but before the fight, all them same people who were sucking him off weren't really giving him a prayer. So that really, everyone's getting excited about how great Ruiz is. But ultimately, why was AJ so afraid for? That's the question, and it all comes down to, in my opinion, the trainer. The trainer's the guy who gives you confidence. The trainer's the guy who not only builds you up physically, which, by the way, McCracken failed to do, he's supposed to build you up psychologically. And I don't care what no one says. That performance there with AJ was not a dude who's been psychologically prepared. And we already know, I exposed it myself. AJ came out the day before the fight saying, oh yeah, I stayed up until 3 a.m. watching Ruiz. I haven't really had much time. I'm thinking, you haven't had much time. You've had 6 weeks. That's plenty of time to be doing them sort of things. Not the day before. And that's, once again, that goes a step further into looking at AJ's psychology. I.e., why is he looking at Ruiz at 3 a.m. in the morning? That's not a psychologically positive fighter. A positive fighter the night before is thinking about all the things they're going to do to Ruiz. Not, oh my god, I haven't had time. Oh my god, let me see if I can exam cram the night before and learn something about Ruiz that I didn't already know. Whatever you ain't going to do 48 hours before is never going to get done. You're better off keeping your mind clear and focusing on your task at hand. This dude, a day before, cramming like an exam. What sort of stuff is that? But it goes down to his psychology. McCracken has not prepared him. And we already know boxing is 90% mental. He was not prepared psychologically, either way. But that's that. I've rambled for a long time, but I've covered two of the main points. Let me quickly go over this now. Don't stay down for the count, become better. This is what AJ said, sorry. Don't stay down for the count, become better. One can recover and go on. One can be victorious, I will. So he's he's branding it. I will be the bad man on this one. But it all comes back round, because becoming better, you've got to have a leader. That not only that, it's no, even if Rob McCracken was a great leader, physiologically and psychologically, that's no good if AJ doesn't believe it. I.e., when AJ was in the corner and McCracken told him to do things and he didn't do them. That tells me AJ believes in himself more than he does his trainer. I remember Mike Tyson talking, and a lot of the great trainer-fighter relationships, the fighters would talk about how their trainer would give them something extra. Yeah? Like Mike Tyson would talk about how if Customato told him to do something, he'd love to do it. He'd love to show Cuss that he could implement what Cuss was saying. Does that make sense? Whereas AJ gets told something, he does the opposite. A lack of respect, he doesn't believe in Rob McCracken. A lot of the good fighter training relationships, they look to their trainer and they believe in it. Not listen to it and think, you know what, I've got better advice for myself. But that's what I think. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'll happily put my hands up. If we see, but I've said this before, if AJ gets through this fight and wins it nip and tuck and looks crap, I'm not going to come on in and suck McCracken off. However, if AJ comes in, looks his best self, and does an average an average or above performance for his standards that is set over the last 23 fights, and he still loses, I'll come on here and say, listen guys, I've got to apologise to McCracken. Even though AJ lost, the process was there. I'm interested in the process here, because I believe AJ on an average or best day, in AJ in a top half day will beat Ruiz, and that's McCracken's job. McCracken needs to bring AJ in at least average. If he comes in below average, that's not good enough. One below average performance, you can say accident. 2, that tells me there's something fundamentally going wrong. And unfortunately, I just don't believe McCracken anymore. But then again, he's proven for 22 fights that he's been able to do it. However, Ruiz is a different fighter, and I'm going to expose this over the next few days. AJ has always had trouble with these particular fighters. He got stopped in the amateurs by a fighter like this. So it's all well and good saying McCracken's been alright before, but AJ's never fought this kind of fighter. He's always fought fighters on his own eye level. He's been normally AJ's quicker than these big tall slow dudes. Normally he's got more power, but these short people, they have quicker hands and they're more explosive. They have the shorter hooks. They have more ding on their shots because they're not as long and loopy. But let's see. I hope that, well, one can recover and go on, and one can be victorious. Sometimes having enough heart and having enough will to do it isn't enough. But let's see. Let's see how it unfolds.